Hey everybody, I am back this week with a brand new live. And today I wanted to talk with you about the topic of my most recent blog post, which is all about inbox anxiety. And I've left the link to that blog post in the description of this video so you can find it there. But today I want to talk about this topic of inbox anxiety. So what is that? Well, it's this feeling you might have, you might be familiar with it, where you're pressing refresh on your phone all the time. And you get that instant sense of overwhelm when you see the little circle loading and then all of a sudden you have 20 messages in your inbox. Or it's that worry that you feel when, and that sense of feeling entrapped when you're trying to write emails and you have no idea what to say. Or let's say you're bracing for bad feedback that you know is coming, or some sort of important email that you're just sitting around waiting for. So it's also that stress that follows you even when you're not inside your inbox or working on your email. But everything inside of it is still consuming your mind and distracting you. So today I want to cover first what the psychology is behind why email makes us so stressed and how we so easily get addicted to it and the consequences of that. Then I want to talk more about how do you stay calm? And I want to give you 3 tips for more mindfully approaching your inbox. And then last, I'm going to share 3 different tools that I use to manage my inbox and control it so that it doesn't control me. So if you are joining live, please do say hello, drop a comment, let me know that you're here. And as always, if you're watching the replay, let me know as well so I can say hello to you. So let's start with the psychology of inbox anxiety. So if you're anything like me, you might notice that you drift over to your inbox maybe mindlessly. If you're bored, you're standing in line, the first thing you do, maybe even in the morning, is check your email. Or it's just mindlessly checking it a million times throughout the day. Sometimes we float over to our inbox when we face resistance or a barrier in our work. So what is that all about? Well, it's actually due to a psychological concept that's known as intermittent reinforcement. And I'll spare you the psychobabble around that. But put simply, intermittent reinforcement, it's a mouthful to say, but put simply, it means that we get rewarded by an activity sometimes, but not always. So in this sense, your email is a little bit like a slot machine. It operates on the same principle, where every time you check your email, you might get a little bit of a brain boost if there's a message there. And it's just like a slot machine. The reason why it keeps you addicted to it is because you can keep pressing it and pressing it and pressing it. And one time you may strike it big, but you keep coming back to it again and again, hoping to get that hit. So we never know for sure when we're checking our email. We never know when we'll get a new message, when it will be positive, when it will be negative, or maybe just even benign, a discount from Old Navy or something like that. But because it could be positive or negative, that creates anxiety, right? So we're uncertain about what we'll get. So we approach our inboxes with a lot of subconscious fear. And it actually triggers our brain's fight or flight response. Because when this happens, our body amps up that stress response. And so this can lead to something that's called email apnea. And if you know anyone in your family that has sleep apnea, what it means is a constriction or a lack of breath. And so when we have email apnea, we literally have constricted or we stop breathing when we're in our inbox, when we're processing our email. And I became interested in this topic because it was something I experienced myself. So I noticed that whenever I was working on email or trying to think of responses to people, I was unintentionally holding my breath or breathing really shallow when staring at the screen. And what this does is just signal to the body that it's in danger, that there's a threat going on. And it just amps up that stress and anxiety even more. So posture also plays a role in this too. So a lot of times when we're checking our email, we're hunched over the keyboard, or, text neck, we're hunched over our screens. And so our posture plays a role here too, because when you're hunched or slumped in that way, you can't breathe fully. And so that prevents good breathing, but it's also a psychological response too. So our bodies respond to email as if it were facing a threat. And one study actually found that people's stress levels of people who check email much more frequently were significantly higher than people who were able to limit how often they were checking their email. And the people who were able to set those boundaries had higher levels of well-being, happiness. They felt happier, more socially connected. So we can't escape our inbox, right? They're just part and parcel of living in the modern world. But what you can do is learn how to react to it differently. So I want to give you a few quick steps that you can try today to help you approach your inbox more mindfully, more intentionally, and with a bigger sense of calm. So the first one is to be more intentional. So if you do find yourself mindlessly drifting over to your inbox, stop and just ask yourself, what goal am I trying to accomplish? So I want you to work on setting a specific intention or a specific goal for actually being inside of your inbox. Whether that's, I have to send my boss certain documents before our meeting at 1 p.m., or I have to send those invitations for my sister's birthday party. I have to find and print my flight information. I want you to work on really intentionally defining what you want to achieve before you dive into your email, so that it keeps you focused, so that you don't fall down the rabbit hole and mindlessly drift. And so you can also ask yourself, if you find yourself slipping down that rabbit hole, you want to ask yourself if this is the best use of your time. So what were you working on before you fell victim to just the pull of checking your inbox? Email is really the great distractor in our world today, just the constant dings. And like I said, we're always looking for that reward, always checking. So you can use this question to check in with yourself, see if your impulse to check those messages is coming from the right place, or if it's actually derailing your attention and taking you off of a productive streak. And you can also think about what you're missing out on as a result of just being trapped inside your inbox. And this is because as humans, we're motivated more by losses rather than gains. So knowing and being conscious of what to-dos and things on your list are falling by the wayside as a result of you getting caught up inside your email can also help you reprioritize and shift back to things that actually matter. Now, step 2 is if you do catch yourself getting caught up in email apnea, have that sense of your chest is tightening and you realize you're really shallowly breathing or holding your breath, which is what I did, you can pause and rate how tense you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. So inbox anxiety is largely unconscious, so you really need to cultivate this self-awareness of your physical and your mental state. And you need to check your posture. So make sure you're sitting up straight, make sure you're not slumping over. This is important because our mental state mirrors our physical body, right? So if you're in this state of constriction and almost sadness and weakness, your mental state starts to mirror that. And this is why I actually try to stand for a good portion of my day to make sure that my posture is up. Also, they say sitting is the new smoking, so it's good for your health too. But it really encourages you to stand up straight to make sure you're breathing properly. And the last one is taking a breath break. So I know you are probably sick of hearing everyone on the planet tell you that you have to just breathe, but it's actually for good reason. So you really need to be, it's for good reason, because breath is actually one of the most powerful ways to shift yourself out of that fight or flight mode back into control. And that's because what breath does is it brings back the frontal portion of our brain, our frontal cortex, back online. The frontal cortex, which is responsible for things like self-control, concentration, focus, that actually shuts down when the body goes into that stress response. And breathing slowly and consciously is what brings that back online and allows you to be in a place where you can be making better decisions and channeling your attention. So there's a really simple, easy breathing practice. I'm not going to ask you to meditate for 10, 20 minutes. I will leave the link to that breathing practice in the comments here. But now I want to share with you some of the tools I use to control my email so that it doesn't control me. And most of these tools that I'm going to mention are for Gmail. That's because that's what I use. But if you do use another email provider, just take a look for other similar options out there. There should probably be a few. So the first one is called Inbox Pause. And Inbox Pause is a Gmail plugin that allows you to literally stop your inbox for a certain period of time. You can pause all emails from coming in. And I really love to do this during periods where I just need to get deep work done, whether it's working on a presentation, writing an article, whatever it may be. I will put on inbox pause so that I am not drawn to that intermittent reinforcement of when I hit something that's hard, I immediately want to go do something that's easier. And checking my inbox is that easier thing. So if I pause it, no messages are coming in, I'm not going to get distracted by that little number that appears on my screen. So inbox pause is great if you want to curb that habit of waking up in the morning and automatically checking your email. I love inbox pause for that as well. The next one is something called Boomerang. It's another Gmail plugin. I believe it's now part of the regular Gmail, that you don't have to download it separately. But Boomerang is a service that allows you to schedule emails, or what they call boomerang emails, back to yourself. So I'll explain that. So the first one is pretty straightforward. You can schedule emails to go out at a different time. I like this for if I'm working on emails on a weekend, let's say, or after hours, or I want to schedule something to go out in a few days. I love Boomerang for this. It's a really great way to process your inbox all at once and have things send when you need them to, and work on things in advance. So if you have invoices to send, reports to send at a certain time, you can actually get ahead of some of that work and not have it nagging on your to-do list using Boomerang. Another great feature of it is what I was mentioning. You can actually send emails back to yourself when you're ready to process them. So if you have something that you're not going to really have an answer to or more information about, and for a week, 2 weeks, you can actually boomerang that message to come back to you at that time, so you can deal with it when you're actually available to deal with it. It's really great. And the last one is Follow Up Then. It's pretty similar to Boomerang, but it allows you to follow up at a certain time. So if I have emails I know I won't be able to answer till the end of the day, because I won't, let's say I'm something in my schedule is still shifting out, I'll actually schedule that email to follow up with me in 4 or 5 hours, let's say. Or I actually use it to set reminders for myself by the month. So if there's something I need to do in December, for example, mailing my clients holiday gifts, I schedule that for December as a reminder to myself to do that. These are all free. They're not paid. So they're Inbox Pause, Boomerang, and Follow Up Then. So that's all I have for you. If you have any questions for me on this topic, I am happy to answer them. Drop them in the comments below, and I will see you guys soon.